All right.
Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's installment of Let's Talk Horses. And welcome, before I dive into where I am in the world at the moment, welcome to my amazing special guest, Miss Alison Cox. Thank you so much for being here with me and us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Love it.
I'm so happy to have you here. A fellow joyous horsewoman, which always makes me more joyous. And at the moment, I'm in a very special place. You'll notice the background that I have here is not my usual background. My computer is currently sitting on top of my suitcase. My lighting is provided from the windows. I don't have my ring light. I don't have my special mic. I've just got my little AirPods in. Because I'm at the moment, I'm at El Lugar in Costa Rica. How did I get so lucky? I got here very late last night. I've maybe had 3 or 4 hours sleep, but I got to start my day on the back of a horse. One of Gary's horses, actually. Her name is Silano. No, that's not right. It means cinnamon in Spanish. Anyway, I'll think about it in a minute. But, you know, talk about you can be as tired, as sore, as whatever as you want and get on the back of a horse and everything just gets better.
Yes. I know that horse, and I always forget her name, how to say it too.
I'm going to look it up. But while I do that, because now it's bugging me, I've been saying it all morning and now I just lost it. While I do that, tell us, Alison, the last time we spoke, I remember I was in Prague. I think you were in Prague as well. We were about to begin the Global Foundation for Access Consciousness there. So that was like a few months ago now. How have you been since? What adventures have you been on with horses? How is your world with horses at the moment?
Oh my goodness. So great. I can't believe I haven't seen you. I feel like I see you all the time, which is funny, which I don't. And since then, I'd say, the time with horses has been a lot of some where you're at, El Lugar, where I got to go there. One of the most beautiful places. If you haven't been to El Lugar, you can go to ellugarresort.com or ellugar.com or something and check it out. But it is the most beautiful place basically in the world in Costa Rica, and the most beautiful place to ride horses. And when I was there, my horse actually, one of his shoes fell off. He stepped on it, went down to the ground. I went down too, and he's okay, but he was injured for the rest of the time I was there. And I was like, what? I'm not going to ride my horse for the whole week I'm here? But the cool gift about that, I was like, okay, well, what's right about this I'm not getting is I got to ride, I think I was there for 8 days. So 7 other horses.
Wow.
Really got to explore playing with, a kind of a brand new way of riding for me that I learned from Mr. Gary Douglas the previous week at Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider. And so the horse that you rode today and a whole bunch of other horses, it was really cool to explore riding horses all over the board with all kinds of different personalities.
Okay, let's put a pin in this right here. Her name, by the way, is Carnella, Carnela. It means cinnamon. I wasn't even fucking close. But anyway, Carnella. But the same thing, I got here expecting to ride my horse, Pregonero, and the word hadn't got through the grapevine to me that his body's not doing great again. So guys, if you're listening to this and you desire to contribute to my amazing Pinto horse here, his name is Pregonero, and he's basically the best. He had some cancer, and they removed the cancer, but the cancer has come back. And he's very sprightly. He's in good spirits. I've just been with him, loving him all over his body. Took the most hilarious videos of me scratching him on the wither, and he just goes into like this trance, and his mouth. I even got Alexis, the horse, the head cowboy. I'm like, come and look at this. And I was like scratching him. And anyway, I'll share the video all through my social media today. Simone took a video of it and it was amazing. So anyway, I got here this morning and for a moment, I was like, boo fucking who? I want to ride my horse. And then I was like, I've heard Gary say so many times, the best way to learn riding is to ride a lot of different horses. Or one of the best ways to learn to ride better is to ride a lot of different horses. So So I got on this sweet being named Carnella, and we had the most amazing ride. And Hugo's like, "Do you like her?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, we've got this other horse as well." And I'm like, "Hugo, I will ride anyone when it comes to horses. I will ride anyone." So I'm also like, for this week, what if I got to explore using my body and having that different relationship with as many different horses as possible? So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because it's kind of very serendipitous that we both pretty much had the same experience last time you were here. So what came up for you in that week riding those different horses?
Well, so much stuff. It was such a facilitation because also during that week, the weirdest stuff was happening that I could have made myself wrong for. Like, we were riding up cantering up a hill, a hill, but felt like a mountain when
There's a big one.
Yeah, your cinch breaks and then your saddle falls off and you go down with that too. I'm like, man, on the ground again. And then the next day, I think I was cantering and all of a sudden, just the rein popped off. And I was like, okay, and a brand new horse again. I'm like, all right, I have one rein in my hand and I'm going to have to use, my whole being, totally being present with the horse, communicating with the horse, because I wouldn't like to fall off again. And I was like, all right, what's right about this I'm not getting?
Wow.
And the horse did great. Even the horse was a crazy horse. The horses, if you ask them, always he wasn't crazy, but, not like, oh, the thing fell off. I'm going to slow down and stop for you. It's like, we're going. Let's slow down. So I really got to explore what I can do and be with my body with all of these different things going on. And I was like, all right, what's right about this I'm not getting again? And I'm like, oh, well, one of the right things is, what if it's time for new tack? So I just thought that was the funniest. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just, exposing, these things that maybe someone might get hurt by in the future. So you're welcome. There we go. And also, what if there isn't any situation that you cannot handle on a horse? There's all kinds of like scary things that, you hear about, or, someone just like falling off and people breaking things and things like that. From my point of view and experience now falling off a horse so much, and actually many times, that used to be one of my biggest fears. I really wanted to get over that because I wouldn't try new things for that weird fear that I was going to fall off, even though, I was walking and I was maybe going to canter. I'm like, back in the day, I'm like, I'm going to fall off if I start cantering or trotting, And so really using all the tools in Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, pock and potting everything, interesting point of view, who does this belong to anyway, has really changed. And now that, sometimes if your cinch falls off and your whole saddle falls off and you're hooked onto it, you might fall. But there's different ways that you can be with your body, even with that, so that you don't get hurt. Or I did bruise my tailbone, which I've never experienced before.
Yeah. Ouch.
I was like, is it going to be like this forever? But it's good now. But I still rode. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered the question.
I don't know. I don't even remember the question. But what I loved as well was like, the other thing is, it's interesting when something goes wrong like that, quote unquote, how we go to the wrongness of anything, but probably mostly we go to the wrongness of ourselves. Like, it's so interesting how, and horses never, like your horse wouldn't have turned around and looked and been like, nice one, dickhead. Like your horse is like, there's nothing in their world. They're like, oh shit, okay, what next? Like when the rain breaks, they're like, do we run faster? Like what's going to happen now? They're not like, oh, like there's nothing in their world where it's like this personal thing. And it's just always so interesting to me how we arrive to our horse and we're already thinking about the things that can go wrong, and then something goes wrong, whether it's when you're thinking about it or not, and then we're thinking again about the wrongness of that wrongness. And it's just so, and horses in their world are like, I don't even know what wrongness is. Like what's happening right now? So yeah, I mean, I just think it's amazing to hear you say, to acknowledge like how much we kind of make this shit personal, and it's really not.
Yeah, no, not at all. And in fact, the more not saying you need to go experience all those things or have wrong things show up so that you can get over it. But for me, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Like, I didn't die. I got up and rode all of the rest of the days, even with a, bruised tailbone. And it also showed me how, where I was sitting on the saddle that maybe could have been adjusted. I'm like, oh, well, it hurts when I sit there. That's where I usually sit. But actually, I should be sitting a little bit different. Yeah, so just really cool with that.
Awesome. And then so backtracking, because you also mentioned before that trip to Costa Rica, you had an awesome time co-facilitating a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class with none other than Gary Douglas. I mean, nice creation lady. And not just the fact that you created it, but I mean, I unfortunately wasn't at the class, but from what I've heard and what I've seen of it, I'm so keen to spend some time with you with horses after this class. And, mic drop, bomb alert, we're actually going to be co-facilitating a class, a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class here in Costa Rica in like 10 days. So this podcast will go to air before that. And if you're hearing this, it's probably a Thursday. So you've still got time. You could technically, even when you hear this, get on a plane and come to Costa Rica. You have to be live for these classes because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with horses. We also have a special guest joining us, which is Cody Law, who is the ranch manager of the Lazy Double D Ranch, Gary and Dane's ranch in Houston, Texas. But tell me a little bit about what that Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class was for you. What was it like?
It was amazing. I felt like a little kid, in a candy shop, just because we've been to classes with Gary before and they're awesome. And it's like, okay, you wonder if you're just going to hear some of the same things, and which is never true. Even if you do hear the same things, when Gary talks, it explodes into some other awareness you have. But this class, it was just this last class. And I'm a little ADD right now.
I'm the same. So don't worry. I'm like, what?
I don't finish this sentence, and you want to hear the rest of it, let me know. So, the coolest part, he called me up before. He's like, you know what? Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, I would like it to be more about the riding, so, when it is. And Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider. I'm like, awesome. Let's see what that's going to be. And so really it was him showing us a completely different way that most people do not know about. It's a way to be and work with the horse in the way that their mother worked with them, and working in areas of the body, your body, working with their body in the most natural way possible, that you don't have to speak in order for them to understand. They receive the information and communication based on your energy, your body, and how they learned to move with their mother. Yeah. And so for a lot of riders, this, riding like this is going to be like changing your golf swing. But I love, Tiger Woods, when, he had been a professional golfer making millions of dollars, and he decided, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible here? He's like, oh, I'm going to learn this new golf swing. And he sucked at it for, I don't know, a while, like a year or two or 6 months. I don't know. Tiger Woods, let us know how long it was. I'm just.
When you hear this podcast, Tiger, can you just let me know? One of us and let us know?
So, but when he finally retrained himself, his golf swing was boom, off the charts. So really, that's kind of where I'm at right now, exploring this new way of riding and just practicing and letting myself mess up. Not all horses are created equal. Not all people are created equal. So some of the horses are used to, the different golf swing too, old golf swing. And so getting your horse to, well, it's not even really about the horse. They're just not used to someone working with them in that way, let's say. However, this way of riding that he showed us in class, like my horse personally here close to Denver, she is green, and she, sometimes doesn't turn when you want her to, and sometimes you have to use a little bit more rein, like, okay, we're gonna go this way now than I would like, and it didn't seem like she was very sensitive. I'm like, man, I'm not in town enough to like train her all the time and blah, blah, blah. I was like making myself wrong again, But when I started using, these new tools that we learned in class, she just turns right away. She's like, why haven't you been doing it this way all along? And, she doesn't need the rein to turn. She doesn't need the rein to do anything really. And I use bitless bridles anyway, but it's like even less, less
Wow.
at all. Basically, you're using your seat and your legs.
Great. Awesome. And I mean, I think every rider, like any rider that I've ever met, any rider that I've ever worked with or trained with, or every rider, I think is always, well, the good ones anyway, the ones that are interested in having a better relationship with the horse are always looking, what is the least amount I need to do to get this result? Like, it's literally like, and you watch some of those really old school horsemen, more of like the Western style, or you watch some of those really old school, high level eventers and dressage riders, and it literally looks like they're sitting on the horse doing nothing, and the horse is just boom, boom, boom. And I love that you talked about, and what you guys are referencing with this is what the mother shows the foal, because you watch a mum with her foal, she doesn't walk up and like push its head over this way or pull its head this way, or she literally just uses her body to maneuver the horse based on where she directs the energy on whatever certain point of the body that she's directing it at, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And eventually, for the people that are learning this, you start with the contact and the technical parts of it, or if you will, they're not technical, and then eventually, we really go into clearing things and learning how to basically think at the horse. Like, what if you didn't even need to use your legs, or you were just basically hooked into your avatar dragon and you guys were as one?
Wow. And so what showed up in that class? Do you remember any like aha moments, cool stories with yourself or with other people, and what came up for them?
Oh my goodness. Well, one of the, there's so many things. I would have to go look through the pictures too to like remind me like of all the things that showed up in that class. But there's a couple things. One of the horses, not one of the horses, one of the people, one of the participants, she hadn't maybe ever ridden horses by herself that much. But, and some of the participants, we had a lead rope and they did not have to go do it by themselves at all, of course. But she was like, I'm going to go try this. So went out to go try turning without the reins, just her body and all this stuff. And she would it was like as if by magic. The horse was listening to her and she was like, this is so cool. And she started to have this thought in her head, which is very important when you're on a horse or in general living your life, because your thoughts, feelings, and emotions have a lot to do with how everything's going to show up around you and how the world is going to show up for you. So she had this little thought, and we didn't know this at the time, but she was like, ooh, she knew that her time was almost up on the horse, even though we hadn't said anything. But her point of view was, I've been up here for a while. I'm going to have to get off soon. I would like more. And so she just thought, I want more. And the horse took off, cantering, bloop, 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 bloop. And she's like, and at first I was like, I don't know if she had ever cantered before or what, but she looked great. And then the little fear thing kicked in. And so, grabbed the horn and was kind of like, got a little scared, and we got to calm the horse down. But she did awesome. She stayed on the horse, and, Gary asked her well, what did you think right before that happened? She's like, well, I thought I want more, I want more time. And he's like, oh, the horse just, when you ask, I want more, it means more energy, more speed, just more. The horse doesn't understand, I want more time. Time doesn't necessarily make sense. So it was just
cool.
Amazing to watch, the play out of the thought, the point of view, and what that created with the horse and with her. And she just loved it.
Yeah. And I mean, also when you start to delve into this, it's like the horses know, right? Like if you approach a horse and your like your point of view, your energy, your perspective on riding is this, like the horses are 100% all the time completely responding in sync, aware of our energy and what we're, for lack of a better word, transmitting to them. So if you approach a horse like, okay, I'm going to ride you with heavy hands, using my aids a lot, my legs are going to be on you, you're going to be, so the horse is going to numb itself to that. It's going to be like, okay, I need to kind of almost brace because I'm going to feel a lot from this person. They're going to not really be in sync with me energetically. And then it's interesting, the moment you start to explore the world of, like you said, that you guys were stepping into, where you're on this path and you're retraining your swing. So it might be that it takes 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years, who even cares? But the moment you shift that trajectory into, I want to be more energetically connected to my horse, the horse is like, boom. So all that lady had to do was like think that one thing. And it's so interesting to see straight away how quickly the horses hear that and change their interaction and the way that they sync up with you.
Yeah, just amazing. This horse had never, I mean, this horse is not used for lessons, doesn't get ridden that often. But her whole being, you know, I knew she'd be a great horse for the class. You know, you asked the horses before and she's like, me, I would like to do this part. She was so sweet and taking care of everyone. And, you know, for a lot of people that have ridden her before, she was a great horse, but also green and also like didn't do everything you wanted all the time with the two particular riders that usually ride her. But in the class and everyone being so present with her and using, you know, with that, I'm going to speak the rest of my sentence in my brain. But it was just so cool to see exactly what you were saying. Like, it's not about, you know, this horse is this way. It's what energetic connection can I have with this horse today? What can we create today? And if I'm being present with you, what can you receive? What can I receive? And what else is possible?
Yeah, totally. And it's so cool to me just how much horses are the question. Like they exist completely and utterly as like a constant question in their world. Like it's never a conclusion for them. It's never like this equals this. It's always, I mean, you know, and you'll meet those horses that have been really kind of shut down through a lot of, you know, heavy handling or whatever that is. But even those horses, it doesn't take much at all to start changing that when you're willing to like be in that slipstream with them of energetic communication and question.
Yeah. Yes.
Another
thing from class that just reminded me, you know, we do all of these clearings, the access consciousness clearing statement and body processes, and like you'll see in class, we just go for it. And the weirdest stuff shows up when verbally facilitating the body through body processes. One of the horses who I had been working with, the dangerous stallion, who's used to be known as Brookstone. His new name is Stoner.
That's so cool. And he's the one that moved to Houston with his Gary stallion now, right? Wow.
Yep. He went home with Gary after class, basically not right after, but he was changed so much. Like you really had to be, from what I would consider normal, it would have taken him a long time to really like get him to gentle and to not try to bite people. And, you know, he came a long way before the class and he was doing great. And I was able to work with him really well without like a flag or staying on the other side of the fence. But he was still a little rough around the edges, quote unquote. But after whatever we changed in class and we worked on his body, did body processes and ESSE, I went and saw him after class the next day, and he was a completely different horse as if by magic the next day. Like this rough around the edges, previously dangerous, kind of not so dangerous, but maybe a newbie shouldn't be around this guy. Horse was like cuddling, letting me hold his head, just not didn't need all of this mouth stuff anymore that he just, I used to have to massage the roof of his mouth for a good 5 or 10 minutes. And then I could like go in and do his feet and all that stuff. But he really needed a lot of mouth stimulation before. Yeah. And after the class, it was nothing. He just kept his mouth shut. I'm like, really? Nothing? No, mouth closed. Okay. And he was just like, enjoying petting and grooming and all kinds of things in a way that I had never seen him before, to the point where I was able to work with him and get a saddle on him, and I sat on him. He didn't necessarily like the saddle, but then he went to Gary's, so I'm excited to see where he's at and go work with him out there too.
Cool. And we don't talk a lot on this podcast about the body processes. It's come up a few times, but so maybe we can talk a little bit about, maybe I'll just ask you so the information may come a little more freely. What are the body processes in the Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class?
So they are hands-on body processes. So you basically put your hands on and you ask for a specific energy to run on your animal or your horse or yourself or other people. So sometimes there's certain parts of the horse's body, that the manual and the Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class suggests. And of course, you always follow the energy. But these basically, it's like you're not doing something to the horse. You are facilitating the release of stuck points of view, judgments, decisions, conclusions, throughout all time and space, basically. And so one of the horses that we worked with, she is probably like 22. And when a horse is 22, they're basically dead. Just kidding. No, but there's there can be lots of projections about age. It can show up in their body. She had sway back stuff going on. And that can lead to more people projecting points of view about aging onto the horse. There is a couple body processes in there that can facilitate the horse to release those points of view out of their body, and their bodies can start showing up in a completely different shape. Their fur color can change. I love the horse that we worked with, Peaches, so much because I've done body processes on her before, and sometimes she'll just want me to work on her for a couple minutes. So I just literally put my hands on her for 5 minutes and then she walks off. And I have I'll have to find the before and after pictures, because for some reason I was like, took a picture of her before, wasn't really planning on doing body process, but did it for 5 minutes, walked away thinking, well, it probably didn't do anything. It was just 5 minutes. Came back, took a picture of her, and I was like, wow, like her sway back had come up at least 3 inches. She was a completely different color and she just looked different. And the pictures are so cool. So these body processes are, a great tool to help your horse release anything from aging. I lost my hair thing. Aging to just crazy over here. Just all the points of view that could happen. Injuries, some horses get injuries and they're never supposed to heal again, or for most horses, they're permanent. But, if you are interesting point of view about it, you ask the horse's body, you can run these processes. The horse may choose to change it faster than anything else out there.
Yeah, wow. And do you have like a couple of go-to processes you use on horses when you're working with them, or is it more you ask the horse's body? Or because I know in the manual there's like, I don't know, is there like 15 or 20 or something in there? There's a lot.
There's a lot. It definitely depends on the horse, the day, the time, what I can remember. And so, sometimes I'll have my manual or I have it on my phone and I'll just ask, okay, which of these does this horse require? Or sometimes a go-to one that I love going to is total restoration of communion with earth. From people and their projections. And, we aren't necessarily always in complete communion with the planet. We have a lot of judgments, right and wrong, bills to pay, taxes to pay, family stuff, relationship stuff, and Am I going to get all of this stuff done before I die? Oh my God. And, you know, all of that stuff creates a kind of like an electric charge in our bodies. And the horses, especially, you know, horses are one of the animals that came here to basically facilitate us. And they will do, some of them will do whatever they can to heal us, you know, take that out for us because they perceive something's a little bit off. This is just one example of how this could work.
Yep.
So they'll try to, you know, duplicate or take out or take on crap that's going on for us. And they will actually sometimes lock that in their body. So when you do these body processes, it allows them to release that. And the total restoration of communion with earth is one that just, I think it's like a supercharged dose of releasing all kinds of stuff. When you tap into the earth, you get to just fizzle out all of the stuff that is the lie.
Yeah. And I mean, because for me, horses are like the most connected to the earth, almost like out of any creature here, really. Like I find them to be like really part of the earth's energy because, I mean, unless we put them on a trailer or a horse float and take them somewhere, or unless they're jumping in the air, they're constantly in contact with the earth, right? Like,
yeah,
they're constantly connected to the planet around them. So yeah, I think that total restoration of communion with earth also reminds their bodies and them that that's their natural state of being, which is actually very true for us as well. But we've just, you know, sometimes chosen a different pathway with certain things. Like you said, all of the shit we need to do in this lifetime before we die. But how often do we just take 5 minutes to like sit on the earth and restore that communion, that part of us?
Yeah. And the cool thing about the body processes too is when you're running them on the horse, maybe they're tricking me all the time. It actually runs on you too.
Yeah.
Why do you want body process again? Oh, for me. Okay, thank you. Yes. And you know, when you're riding a horse and you're not having that communion with the earth, that connection with the earth, it's not as easy for them to perceive what you would like, that you are with them, that you are present with them. And just running that process, even, you know, asking it to run while you're on top of the horse, you can, if you don't know what we're talking about, you could learn it in the Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class, but running it while you're riding can create a completely different ride too for you guys, since, you know, horses like to be in communion with the earth, like you said.
Totally. Hey, there is someone at my door. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to take you guys over. I knew this would happen, you know. I actually thought they come to, I think it's the people to clean. Hang on. We can edit this out or we can leave it in. It's fine.
I like it.
Maybe 5 minutes. I've just got to finish one thing and then I'll be, thank you.
5 minutos.
I know, I need to learn my Spanish again. Awesome. And so I would love to wrap this podcast up with a shameless plug that, let me actually just do this in case we edit that part out of me answering my door, which I don't think we really need to. I mean, come on, that was exciting. So we've talked about body processes, we've talked about riding, like there's so much more as well that we cover in Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider classes. And for me, it's like the thing I love about them is it really depends on who shows up and what's going on for them that really kind of dictates the direction of the class. But if you were going to say anything to invite someone to attend a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class, what would that invitation be?
I would say, you know, whether you've been riding horses forever, whether you're an Olympic rider or you're just beginning, there isn't anywhere where this class doesn't meet. You know, we've both facilitated lots of classes, and I'll speak for both of us. There isn't anywhere that this class can't meet you in the place that you're in. And there's always more to learn with horses. This is just one of the best avenues that I know to explore what else is possible with horses and with yourself. You learn so much about yourself in this class too.
Totally. And I will add one extra little bit to that to say there's so much amazing there's so many different ways to learn to be with horses in the world. Like there's so many different courses out there, and I think all of them have something to give. And the thing I love about Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, number one, it's not here to replace any of that. It's like Access Consciousness. It's here to add to everything you already know about horses. And the thing I also love about it is I feel like it's kind of like you have all of the traditional horse stuff out there, all of the things that people have discovered about horses and that we've learned about them so far. But for me, I've never found anything that goes in the direction that Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider goes. It tends to, there's a few horse people out there now willing to delve into the energetics, the energy, the universe, the communication beyond words side of things. And, they coin it like woo-woo is the phrase. Like, oh, I'm a bit woo-woo right now. I'm like, well, dudes, you have no idea how woo-woo this shit can get until you come and do a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class where we get to go as woo-woo gets, like where you really like get to perceive and be in the world of a horse, which really, although they've worked with us and been with us for many, many centuries, there's so much more that they have available that I think they would love to show us when we're willing to dive into that world with them as well. So
absolutely.
Yay.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, my friend. So you're hearing this podcast. Thank you for listening. And if you would like to join myself and Alison, we have a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class coming up in El Lugar in Costa Rica in just a few days. But if it's not this class, please find a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider facilitator near you. And if it feels like fun, I would highly recommend getting along to a class.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. And I will see you soon. And thank you so much for having me on here. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, guys. See you next time.
Bye.